Morning all. I stumbled upon chess games game of the day today. Smyslov against Tal, played in the USSR Team Championship of 1964. I thought we could have a quick look at it in brief commentary format. C4 from Vassily Smyslov, G6 from Mikhail after knight C3 bishop G7, G3. White is intent on fianchettoing actually both bishops, first the king side bishop and now the queen side bishop. So double fianchetto system. So E6 is Tal's reaction here. Bishop B2, knight Ge7. So he's got the potential for D5 at some point. Knight A4, offering quietly the exchange of bishops, which is accepted by Mikhail. Black castles, E3, D5. Black seems to have though a good position. Knight F3, knight F5. White castles. And now Mikhail does something about his C8 bishop. He plays B6, so he's intending to put his bishop here and try and challenge White's fianchettoed bishop. Knight A4, bishop B7, C takes D5, E takes D5, and now D3, queen F6, queen D2, rook AD8, as though Mikhail's interested in playing D4, but it would be compromising the C4 square, so this has to be done with caution. For example, a knight reroute like this at some point later could be annoying for black. So for the moment, okay, after rook FD1, Tal avoids D4, he plays rook FE8, now rook AB1, knight D6. We see now knight E1 attacking D5, and Tal actually now commits that D pawn. He plays D4. We see E4, queen E7, getting out of the way actually of the F pawn. So it looks as though it might be tempting for White to even consider F4, but I think it just creates too many weaknesses. White played actually knight C2, and now Tal plays a very aggressive move, F5, trying to just undermine White's central control, but also try and get rid of this bishop for this bishop, so leave him with weaknesses around his king. We see after E takes F5, not the ordinary capture here, recapture, but in fact knight E5. So pressure on F3 and G2 here, sacking a pawn, but it's very dangerous for White in this position. White wants control of his second rank here, hence this next move, F4. This is very useful to be able to defend like this and have defensive resources like H3 maybe later. We see knight F3 check, bishop takes F3, bishop takes F3, and the rook goes on that e-file, challenging the queen. Here is a very interesting point of the game, where Tal plays a very interesting move indeed. I wonder if you can guess it, if I give you 10 seconds starting from now. Okay, Tal plays queen E2. Very dangerous queen sacrifice. For example, if it, well, in the game what happened, it was taken, and now Smyslov played queen takes E2 here, just giving the queen back. Interesting is actually queen C1, and after check, this is a bit of an unclear position, bit of a murky position, but White in this kind of variation is actually has got interesting play a piece up, and it should be maybe even a tiny advantage for White. So I believe this is technically the way to go, but White had concerns about this maybe variation, and instead just gave the queen back immediately with queen takes E2. And what we have now makes the game quite fascinating, because Vassily Smyslov is known for his endgame strength. So Tal's going straight into Smyslov's strengths, but he does have the asset of the light square bishop, which the game actually proceeds now with great simplification. After bishop h5 we have an exchange of knights here, and now an exchange of rooks, leading to this bishop and knight ending. And to win such an endgame with the bishop, you usually need two different targets, not just one weakness but two, because that will create an overload situation. And it's interesting here that Tal arranges this threat of b5, and this is approaching move 40, and we see a4, which in principle, from a theoretical point of view, is giving a target, the a4 pawn, to the light square bishop. It's a very interesting decision by Smyslov here. If maybe a lesser evil continuation would be to avoid playing a4, just allow black to play b5 and try and hold the fort like this. It's a bit desperate looking, but maybe it's potentially more tenable because there isn't a target on a4 permanently. In the game, what we see after this a4 is now the king being tied down to have to nanny this pawn. After a5 locking down the pawn to any pawn sack, like a5, now the king has to nanny the pawn. After bishop c6, that bishop is a very fine bishop here, but black can now create a second target. He creates a second target by trying to invade with his king to this g4 square, which provokes white to have to defend with h3. And believe it or not, that's mission accomplished. This position is mission accomplished, because now black can try and reroute the bishop to attack both d3 and h3, and this is the principle of two targets in an ending. This will create an overload, this double attack here on f1. We see now Tal manoeuvring to put his bishop like that, affording white the opportunity for the knight to pounce into the position and menace his pawns. So it has to be calculated accurately. We see now, for a moment though, the knight was taking a detour to g2, but now it's ready for this main route via f3. So after losing a pawn here, can the knight salvage the situation? Well, first the knight is interested in taking the h7 pawn with this fork, and now the knight is interested in going for b6 in principle. Okay, but a4 is dropping off, or is it? Tal perhaps could have taken that, but he's keeping this diagonal under control, and actually he really wants to do this without any hassle. If he can win g3, then f4 will drop. So he's coming in for that g3 pawn. And now, okay, white's potentially playing like this, because the king's over here, so any capture, this would be a fast pass pawn. But bishop c6 trying to eliminate the dangerous a4 pawn. So he's got that option. Holds f. The f pawn is important to keep here, because the king's active, but it needs to assist a passed pawn. So now a4 is taken in this position. And now this is difficult for this a pawn. It's a major distraction. So this a pawn is shoved down the board, sacking c5. Now white is very, very passive. These two pawns are very, very weak. One's dropped off, and d3 is now under fire. And here, bishop e8. So this pawn is ready to go to run now. c5, and it's all a matter of timing now. After f4, c6, Tal just sacrifices his bishop. This knight can't stumble back in time to save this position. After knight takes c3, f3, knight e5, it's still hopeless. Tal just plays f2 anyway. And the king and pawn ending is totally won after knight g4 check. So Smyslov had to resign here. So just as an example, check. This is just hopeless. It's just in time. The opposition, the pawn's going through. So it's a great game showing Smyslov outplayed in an endgame by Mikhail Tal, 1964. Very interesting game indeed. Comments or questions on YouTube? Thanks very much.